So the plan is that I'm going to go into my closet and try and find the awards that I won in high school. I don't actually know exactly where they are. I know they're all boxed up, but I am prepared for this journey. I have my flashlight, I have protection, and I have fortification. So it should be a good experience. Alright. Okay, I found it. Alright, so first things first. The fact that the awards I received in high school are sitting in a shoebox halfway between Narnia and the back of my closet should be a pretty good indication of just how important they are to me. You're seeing certificates and plaques that told me I was a special snowflake for excelling in the things that I intrinsically enjoyed and found value in. I never understood my high school's need to reinforce the behaviors that I was naturally inclined to continue on my own, because public recognition and praise have never been motivating for me. To be honest, most of the time they have the opposite effect. The footage is a little blurry, but what you're seeing now is my grade 11 report card. Just look at all those A's. Clearly, I must have been a model student. Well, maybe model student is a bit inaccurate. Let's take a look at that again. Academic, not academic. Academic, not academic. Grade 11 was the worst year for me personally and academically, but it's the year that I received the most recognition for outstanding achievement. I wasn't invested in the classes that weren't going to help me keep my mind off of everything else that was going on in my life, so I didn't try. In grade 12, when an unusual sequence of events set me on the path to becoming an educator, I got my act together and pulled up my marks enough to get into university. I received no awards for outstanding achievement that year. From high school to the end of my undergraduate degree, I wound up progressing from this to this. How? Well, I began to recognize what assessment was, then I stopped caring about it. Now, I know this seems counterintuitive to put into a video about assessment, but bear with me here. In high school, I was vaguely aware of the tools that were being used to assess me, and I assumed that they were the most accurate measure of not only my learning, but my ability to learn. In university, I started thinking more critically about the grading process and realized that it's, well, sort of crap. The minute I recognized how arbitrary assessment could be, the more I was able to focus on the fact that I was free to learn whatever the hell I wanted, regardless of what high school assessment said about my ability to do so. I even had the opportunity to rant about academic testing in the spoken word piece I put together for a class 2 years ago. For the record, I received a grade of Jack-o'-lantern sticker on it, and it's the academic grade I am most proud of to this day. Although grades still dictate what you're likely to study if you decide to pursue post-secondary education, the system has a fair amount of choice built into it. As a student navigates through higher learning, their pursuits become increasingly personalized. In this sense, universities seem to do a decent job of reflecting the ministry's idea of personalized learning in high schools as outlined in the BC Education Plan. Where things start falling apart, however, is when we look at the ways this learning is meant to be assessed. In our program, we're being introduced to ways we can make assessment more transparent and fair for our students. We talk about standardized testing and why it's an inaccurate way to measure our students' knowledge. We discuss moving away from Scantron sheets and moving towards more conceptual ways for kids to demonstrate their learning. These are all great things. But maybe, just maybe, we need to stop and think about what this all means to those students who decide to pursue higher learning. What happens when a student graduates from high school fully capable of demonstrating any amount of knowledge conceptually, then is forced to sit down and fill out a bubble sheet for 3 hours in a drafty gymnasium? A professor once told me that universities don't have to work hard to accommodate for individual learning preferences because the people who attend are the most cerebral of the Earth's population and have little difficulty working with abstract concepts. Well, yeah, maybe there's a little bit of truth to that, even if it does sound pompous. But maybe it's because universities are designed to weed out those students who don't do well with traditional methods of assessment. With the way things are, access to higher education is limited to those people who test well. I was lucky enough to discover my own love of learning, and I'm intrinsically motivated by it. I also happen to know how to write a test, but the only time I care about its result is when I think it's an accurate measure of my understanding, which is honestly a rare occurrence. As a teacher, I hope to develop the same love of learning in my students by helping them personalize their experiences in school, and I'd love to be able to do that without having to teach to a final exam. But I'm concerned that in the process I'll be setting my kids up for failure by sending them off to universities, trade schools, and other programs that test in a traditional and often inaccurate way. So how do we avoid this happening? Well, we can start with communication. All educational institutions and instructors should see themselves as accountable to their students. So far, we've been horrible at opening lines of communication between these institutions. We should probably work on that if we're really committed to seeing our students succeed. Changing the way we do things from K to 12 is something that I wholeheartedly agree with, but it's doomed to fail if there isn't collaboration between elementary schools and middle schools and high schools and post-secondary institutions. Do I think that academics will be rushing down from their ivory towers anytime soon to join in the quest to make education accessible and intrinsically valuable for all individuals? Nope. But maybe that'll change if enough people begin to cry foul. For now, I guess I'll have to do my best as a new teacher to be open to collaboration and communication between schools, teachers, and students. Because, in the end, isn't that what quality education sort of boils down to? Collaboration and communication?
Here's my theory. As we dream, we unleash deep forgotten emotion. When you